Welcome back to the channel. Videos are a little bit slow at the moment because I'm waiting on a few parts to arrive to finish off the Hyper 7 that you see behind me there. Just waiting on a receiver, so RX and a couple of steering knuckles, but that's in another video. Today we're going to be looking at this. We're going back to the Baja. Last time I ran it, it was misbehaving a little bit. One of the problems I had was throttle. Sometimes it was running absolutely sweet, revving up all the way through the rev range, and then coming back, and then it would bog down again, and then it would rev, and then it wouldn't. So I'm going to have a look at the carburetor today. Going to take that apart, see if there's any dirt or anything stuck in the screens at the bottom of the filters. So I'm just going to have a quick go through the carburetor and see if there's anything I can find on that. So that's what we're going to do today, so enjoy. Okay, so we've removed the body shell and the roll cage on this, and then I've removed the air filter, which is quite a simple half click job, and then that just pops off. Now, to remove the carburetor, we've got our throttle linkage, and we've got two Allen key bolts that go through. So I'm just going to undo this little screw here on this side. That is a small screw, so be careful not to lose it or drop it like I just did. Of course, naturally, that's what we do. Where's my little magnetic screwdriver? There we go. So we pop that off. Off comes the throttle linkage, and then we've got two Allen key bolts there. Okay, so that's our carb removed. We've got one gasket there that's just dropped straight up beautifully. To be fair, it doesn't look like that's had any leaks on it. But we shall see. So, got the air filter housing off. Got another little gasket there I want to be careful of. But for those of you worried about all the dirt in this in a minute, we'll give it a good clean up shortly with some brake cleaner and what have you. So we're just going to pop off the return and hopefully the feed line as well. There we go, so that's the feed line off. And now, see if we just gently tease that gasket off and save it. I haven't got another one, there we go, look at that, beautiful. So we'll clean that up in a little while. Now, the first place I'm going to have a look at is the bottom of the carb in here, because that's where your main feed in from. And obviously the return is at the top of these carbs, so let's crack this open. There we go. Quite nice and easy to undo that one. That's already off. Okay, so there's definitely quite a bit of dirt in there. That screen and filter inside there has definitely got a bit of grub, but actually, to be fair, it's pretty clean. It's not bad at all. But that filter inside there and that screen in there is pretty manky. So we'll go and give it a bit of a brake cleaner, carb cleaner, squirt, spray down, and then we'll put it all back together. Okay, so I just took the carburetor out and give it a good clean. As you can see here, I'll put it all back together now. I even took the high speed and low speed jets out. As you can see, this lovely dirty smudge on my hand here, that is all the dirt that actually flew out of the low speed needle. I put the straw in, squirted a bit of carb cleaner in there, and this big dirty lump of muddy dirtiness came straight out the jets. So put that all back together and did the same again with the other needle, so the high speed needle, and I put them back to where they were. But chances are I think it's going to be running way too rich now, because obviously those jets were rather nastily blocked up. Cleaned out all the filters at the bottom here as well. Just giving it a quick wipe down before we put it all back together. So yeah, definitely worth doing. Hopefully it will certainly run a lot better now. So we're going to stick it all back together now on a little time lapse, and then maybe take it for a quick lap and see what it does. Okay, so cleaned up the gasket, as you can see there. Pop that one on the back there. Then the other one goes on the front here. And then we put our air filter housing on, ensuring that we don't damage the gaskets and that the holes line up. Always check that as well. Some gaskets only have one hole, and if you put the gasket on upside down, you'll block that breather hole and the carb won't draw or work properly. There, we're just going to bolt it back on nice and tight, ensuring that you don't have any air leaks. In fact, what I might just do quickly, because it's a bit easier before you put it fully back together, is pop that return line, feed line back on. Return line goes on the top, so that's pretty easy to access. So we'll pop that on first. So this bolt's still definitely a little bit tight, not sure why. But it doesn't look like it's been thread locked or cross threaded. So maybe it's just a particularly poor thread. Hello, Fred. We'll just have to wind it up slowly and hope that it doesn't damage anything, and that we get a good bite. Of course, it could mean that the isolator block's slightly warped, which might be something to do with the running issues, or it could just be that, as I said, maybe it's been slightly cross-threaded previously. It was second hand, this car, so anything's possible. It is doing up nicely though, it's definitely biting, it just seems to have a bit more bite than I would like. In fact, this would be a good idea for me to string together. I did I replaced a Servo on this recently, but I only did a little bit of time lapse with it, didn't do much, so I might just insert a little bit of that as well on this video here. The replacement with a Sabox SV236 metal geared servo, 0236 metal gear. It cost me 50 quid from a hobby shop down in Cardiff. And silly me, I didn't even realise it myself at the time, but when I was changing it on this, I had a metal horn on the original one, and I didn't realise this had two sides and it was reversible, so I ended up putting a plastic horn on this one. So I've got a spare one, spare metal one, just in case that plastic one does give out, which I'm guaranteed it will. Our servo shapes are pretty good on these, to be fair. Let's make sure that we've got a nice bite up to the manifold, especially on that one there, because it's a tight fit anyway, but that's not loose now, so we know that's a good fit. Don't forget we've got to put our throttle linkage back on, of course. Now these do have a habit of working loose, and sometimes it's a good idea to put a little bit of thread locker on them. I have had that before on this beautiful toy. So we're just going to pop that little linkage. It's a little bit fiddly, of course. Making sure it's aligned, and of course it also comes straight off. Making sure that you're actually on the spline. When you do it up, we actually open and close the throttle, as you can see on this side here. Throttle open, closed. Just give that a little nip, make sure that's nice and tight. And then we just got to pop the air filter back on. So we pop a little rubber housing back in. Making sure that this collar sits over the back, like so. And then we take that into there, that into there. Give it a little push and make sure that the outer cover sits over nicely. So that's the air filter back on, and then of course our return line. Back onto the carb, and that is a quick carb service done. Whilst I was filming this, a couple of parts arrived. Happy days for the Hyboa, because I've got my steering knuckles now, so we can get on with that video. The RX hasn't turned up, and my RX died for some reason. It got a little bit wet and died last time I went out with this, so I might just nick the receiver out of the Baja here and give the Hyper a quick run and finish that video off. I will see how I feel. So yeah, thanks for joining me on this one. Very quick, simple carb service and clean.